are the cap for whatever goes on in your store, in your company, in your district, in your household. However excited you are, what you believe is possible, whatever that threshold is. Hey team, Jim Cripps here with the Charge Forward podcast, coming to you from Hit Lab Studios here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I have a special treat for you today. I have a powerhouse couple that is in serial entrepreneurship, helping people, helping animals, and all sorts. Welcome with us today is Jill and Miles Reidelberger. Welcome, team.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Now, I love that the name is in both businesses. How did that come to play?
Well, actually, the CrossFit gym had the name WildThing first, and actually, Jill helped in naming the CrossFit gym. But then years later, when we decided to open the vet clinic, we were branding, and we were coming up with a couple different options, and out of nowhere, she's like, you know, WildThing kind of applies for both. She's like, we could use this for the vet clinic, and, you know, it's CrossFit WildThing, it's WildThings Animal Hospital, and WildThing Pizza is just around the corner. Yeah.
Well, especially since I see a lot of exotics, I thought WildThings really fit.
Well, and that's one thing that makes your clinic very unique in that there's not many that see exotics. Is that right?
Yeah, we get clients from all over. We get people driving a couple hours away to me. I'm thankful, sometimes surprised, but yeah, it's really exciting.
I think the first time I got introduced to that, we were at the CrossFit gym and finishing up the 9 o'clock class, and Sylvia said, you know, I got to get down to go see a monkey. And I thought she was joking.
No, I have pictures.
But literally, you've kind of gotten into the monkey business in that, I guess, Kentucky does not allow exotic, or what is the situation there?
I don't think there's a lot of vets comfortable seeing primates. There is a lot of diseases that they can give to humans. So we do still see primates because there's a lot of people that have them. Mm-hmm. And regardless of your opinion on whether you should have a monkey or not as a pet, they need health care. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to turn them away, but we do practice like proper technique when we're working with them so that we don't have any contagious disease spread or anything like that. But it is always exciting to see, you know, monkeys.
Yeah. You know, the few times that we've been by, you never know what kind of animal is going to come in.
You don't. Sometimes my clients are a little afraid, especially when I get some of the bigger snakes.
Yeah. I won't be stopping by for Snake Day.
Oh, you know, they got a bad rap. They really do. They're amazing creatures. You just got to give them a chance.
Okay. Well, I'll let you specialize in that one. Now, this is not your first clinic, though, correct? Or hospital?
That I owned, no, it's not my first. I used to own Overwatch Animal Hospital in Clarksville.
Okay. So we've built businesses, we've sold businesses, we've started new ones, we've branched out, and you know, another one of the things that I didn't know until somebody told me is, Miles, you started off in chemical engineering background.
Actually, I'm an industrial chemist. Yeah.
Industrial chemist.
Yeah.
And so what did the world look like before entrepreneurship?
Laboratories and factories. I did a little bit of everything. I've done soil analysis. I've done oil work. My last job was in refrigerants. And yeah, I mean, thankfully, my job was more business, so I was always in management. But yeah, it was essays and producing chemicals for the world.
Okay. And so how do you make that change? What was the catalyst for, you know what, we're going to go into business for ourselves?
Well, I mean, I think that there was two big factors. One was the success of the first clinic. Mm-hmm. I mean, the first clinic grew beyond our expectations. And from there, when I faced a crossroads, the options were really, do I go back to chemistry? Do I just continue working with the vet clinic? Or my third option, which is obviously the path I chose, which was CrossFit. And I fell in love with CrossFit. Fell in love with the methodology of CrossFit, and that's what led me to where we are today.
I just got to brag on him a second. Like, going from chemistry to doing CrossFit, like, that's a huge jump, and he did it really well. He's a really good coach.
I appreciate that.
Well, I think too, and like we talked about, this comes up in almost every episode. You had backing from your spouse, you know, in that you were supporting him making a big change, And also, when you were growing a clinic, he was supporting you, and so you guys are supporting each other.
Definitely reciprocated, yeah.
And so, in your opinion, you guys have been together, what, 20 years, right at it?
Just celebrated our
20
20th anniversation.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
fantastic. And you've got two great kids.
Well, thank you.
We, Branch and Castle hang out all the time. How impactful to your life, or how much of your success do you think is attributed to the fact that you got the right spouse, that you picked correctly, and you were supporting each other?
Do you want to answer this?
Well, I just want to point out, I don't think it's necessarily the success of the businesses. I think it's led to my happiness. Like, if I didn't have the right spouse, I mean, I see what some of these couples go through. And we even say to each other, like, oh, thank God. I'm happy. I hope she's happy. But, God, entering the dating scene again or something like that.
Well, sex is important, and we prioritize that in our life.
Hey, it's part of it, really.
And, I think that we have two businesses, but making our marriage a priority is something we said at the beginning. We said that we didn't want to be in business together if it meant that it was going to compromise our marriage. So we always make it a priority to set time aside for ourselves.
And she's better at it than I am, but she'll be like, no, you're spending time with me today. And thank God she does, because that's how it works.
That's good. That's fantastic. So that's taking it a step further, and I really do think marriage is something you have to work on. If you're not constantly engaged with your marriage, then it's kind of like you can accidentally get fat. But you don't accidentally get fit. And I think your marriage is very similar to that, in that in order to have a great marriage, you have to work on it.
Sure.
I agree, and I think people, once they get married, they're like, done. I'm married, we're set. And being married 20 years, you got to work on that every day.
Yeah. Neglect's a real thing. And there's been times she just flat out says, you're neglecting me, and
I need flowers now.
I hear it, and I actually feel a bit of shame. I'm like, you know what? I need to work on that. If I don't, it's going to erode, and the marriage will fall apart. And so we have had those truths with each other.
I think we complement each other well too. Like our personalities are very different in the sense that he's very business minded and safe, and I'm more of a risk taker. So when it comes to business, like I'm the one that kind of is like, let's do this, and he's like, that's crazy, but then he figures out a way to do it because he's really smart with the numbers.
That's great, but it's to help support you.
Yes.
Right? And so that's great. Complementing each other, kind of one taking the lead when the other one is not as strong in that area, or vice versa. To me, I think that makes life much easier or palatable.
It is.
Yeah, I agree.
That's great. So it's not just about the success of the business. It's really the success of the business is kind of a byproduct of having a successful marriage where you support each other.
Yeah,
I totally agree. Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't know that anybody has really I don't know if our conversations in previous episodes have kind of rounded in that way. So I think that's a perfect take on it. Now, how did you get into CrossFit? So CrossFit, Jill's already said this is a big step for you going from, you're in factories helping them, in the chemical side of things and production and all those. And then you make a big leap from not even veterinary. You're going way over here to CrossFit.
Well, I think I fell for what every middle-aged man does, and that is, I went to school, I got the career, and then the next step was to advance the career, and it was all working, but that became the only thing in front of me. And I woke up one day and I'm 250 pounds. I'm out of shape. I'm late 30s. God knows where I'm heading. And I just so happened to stumble onto CrossFit. I actually took probably the longest route to find it. But once I found it, I drank the Kool-Aid. I was all in. And maybe, I don't know, maybe a year and a half later, when I was 40 pounds lighter and probably $3,000 lighter because I bought all this gym equipment.
Yeah, you're a garage CrossFitter.
Yeah, I was preaching the gospel. Yeah. I couldn't get enough of it. And like I said, when we hit that crossroads of like, what do I do next? Do I go into another chemistry job? Do I just work for the vet clinic? Out of nowhere, I think she was the one who said, have you ever thought about opening a CrossFit affiliate? And my first thought was, why me? Like, how can I do this? And she kept just kind of saying it. She kept just dropping that in my ear. And slowly over time, I started to realize maybe I could do this. And then she took it another step forward and goes, well, maybe you should learn how to coach. And so that's when I reached out for 2 other CrossFit gyms. And I found a group of people that was willing to mentor me in coaching. And I spent the next year and a half with them learning how to coach.
Shout out to CrossFit Ergun.
Yep.
Nice. Is that in Clarksville?
That is in Clarksville, yes.
Okay. Good deal. And how long were you there?
About a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. And I told them right from the get-go, I said, hey, my goal is to own my own affiliate. Mm-hmm. And I could have went to like 2 or 3 different CrossFit gyms that were closer, but one of them was just down the road. I didn't feel like that was right. Be like, hey, I want you to teach me how to own an affiliate, and then I'm going to open one just down the road from you. Instead, I drove 40 minutes away to go to this one. But what they found nice was they said I approached it as if I was an owner, because every single situation we found, I said, well, this is going to happen to me at some point. I need to approach this how I would handle it. And I think that really helped with the success of CrossFit WildThing is I had that precursor. I had that experience. And I not only looked at it as a coach, I looked at it as an owner.
Well, I like how you went into it as well. You know, I think there's a lot of people out there that would kind of come in undercover and not
Get the
share the fact that they were, not share the fact that they were going to open their own.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah. Integrity. Yep.
Yeah. You know, without naming names, there's a business out there that paid their money and went to essentially as if they were going to open a franchise for Jersey Mike's, and
just learned from it,
came back and launched their own brand.
Yeah.
And I've just always, in fact, I would refuse to eat at that chain because I just feel like it was dirty.
Yeah.
Not that I have any, attachment to Jersey Mike's. It's just, it's just not how you do business.
Well, especially in the CrossFit world, there are so many gyms that open like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's malice. I don't think they think that way. I think their goals change. Goal one, I do want to be a coach. Mm-hmm. I want to give back to this community. And then slowly but surely they're like, well, maybe I can have my own community. So I don't think that's, if any of our listeners are, gone down that road, I don't think it's wrong. But yeah, from the get-go, if I knew I was going to open an affiliate to do that, that's purposely why I chose that affiliate so far away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then you've got a great team at CrossFit WildThing. I mean,
best team.
It's fantastic, and I had a long path to it as well. My health journey has been a long one, but
you look good.
Well, thank you, and thanks to y'all because you've got a wonderful facility, a great team. Sylvia pushes us. I love the fact that what you guys are doing with the teens class. I mean, Castle does not want to miss a class. So much so
He's
that
getting so strong.
He is, and he was at a friend's house, and playing all that good stuff. Where a lot of kids would, they would just keep playing, and he went and let them know, I've got CrossFit in 30 minutes.
Awesome.
And she goes, you don't want to keep playing? And he goes, I've got CrossFit in 30 minutes.
He's like, I got to rest. Yeah. Who knows what I'm doing?
Absolutely.
No, Layla saw Castle for the first time the other day, and she's like, he's lifting more than me. Mm-hmm. And so we've seen the gains. That's great.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the stipulations for him to come to CrossFit is every morning before he gets up and he makes his breakfast and he packs his lunch, he has to do 40 push-ups, 40 sit-ups, 40 squats, and 40 jumping jacks.
That's great.
And the deal was, we'll pay for CrossFit, but you do the free ones in the mornings. And if he doesn't do the free ones, then he has to pay that portion. He has to pay for that day.
Wow.
And he doesn't miss a day.
What I like about that is you've already kind of ingrained into his brain that fitness is hygiene. Mm-hmm. It's something we have to do. Yeah. It's a daily activity anymore. And unfortunately, in our very comfortable modern lives, it's not available anymore. So it's up to you. Like our son flat out goes, why do I do this? I go, it should be like, why do you brush your teeth? It's just part of life now.
Yeah.
And so I'd love that you're teaching your son that.
Well, I didn't grow up that way, obviously. And, I don't think that for most people that was even a conversation 30, 40 years ago.
It's a different world.
It was a different world. And it was just assumed that you would have a job that was physical or something of that nature. So, you
don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. And so I think that kind of being parents in the time, And I know you guys do the same thing. We have to make sure that is part of their daily.
We got to teach them, and it's easier for some kids than others, but we do our best.
Sure, absolutely. Well, now Jill, how did your kind of career unfold? Now I know you were in school in Australia, and that's where y'all met. Is that right?
No, we actually met in college, and then I talked him into moving to Australia with me a month after we got married.
Okay, I did not realize that.
Yeah, that whole first year of marriage was a challenge, to say the least.
What an adventure!
We went to Australia with $1,000 in our pocket, and we had to find a place to live, a car, put down deposits, but we did it.
Yeah, and talk about struggles. We showed up to Australia, like she said, $1,000 in our pocket. I think 700 of that was gone in 3 days. Mm-hmm. And we were supposed to get student loan money. They delayed that for 10 weeks.
Oh my gosh!
So we had $300 for 10 weeks.
So what did you do?
Well, we thankfully found probably the best landlord in the world.
Yeah, he wasn't going to go for him. He showed me the picture. He's like, "Oh, I don't think we should go for this place. It comes with the car." I'm like, "What? Of course we should go with this place. It comes with the car."
It was about 20 kilometers outside of the school.
Mm-hmm.
But it came with the car.
So we're trying to find living quarters, close to the school, but they were all outrageous. And the realtor kept showing me these pictures of this place. She goes, "It's out in the bush, but they give a car." And I just kept discounting it. And finally she saw it and she's like, "It looks nice." And when we showed up, oh, thank God.
It was beautiful. It was on this
beautiful
property, Jim. And like it was like a granny flat in the back of this beautiful property. And I mean, we made so many nice memories there. The car was manual, and he was the only one that knew how to drive manual.
Okay.
So that was a big source of tension. He was my chauffeur for the first 6 months. And then one day he just decided he didn't want to be it anymore. And we were driving. He pulled the car over to the side of the road and said, "I'm walking home." And it was like 5 miles from our house.
Yep, she
and
has
I'm
to
like,
learn.
"Fine, I'll figure this out." So I figured it out, and I drove right past him home.
Hey,
He had to walk the rest of the way.
That was the easiest 5 miles I ever walked because I didn't have to chauffeur her anymore.
Yeah, but we met before Australia, and spent the time there to get my degree, and then moved back here.
Okay. And what made you pick Australia?
So I'd study abroad there during my undergrad.
Okay.
So I went to school at Southern Illinois University at Carbondale, and they had a program there that we can go to Murdoch University in Australia. And I went there for 6 months during undergrad, and I knew I wanted to go back for longer because I enjoyed it so much. And right then, that university was becoming AVMA accredited, so it was basically like getting a degree from the U.S.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And it was cost comparable to in-state tuition. Wow. So it made sense. I got into school at University of Illinois, but I'd done everything in Illinois. Born, raised, went to undergrad there. I wanted to get out. And Australia provided that opportunity.
And we got out.
That is definitely out back.
My parents are like, "Where?"
Oh, yeah. Now, Miles, if I remember the story correctly, you had a little bit of an entrepreneurial strike then, selling some playing cards. Is that right?
Yeah.
Now we're going way back.
First business, yeah.
You have to learn how to fail, right, honey?
In Australia, they did not sell playing cards. Like bicycle playing cards were like $20 a pack. And I'm looking at this going, what in the world? So I'd have my mom send me over, packs of playing cards, and I would see $10, $15 margins on these playing cards.
So one of the themes, and really kind of the reason I had you guys come in today, is on the Charge Forward podcast, we look for successful people who default to charging forward when other people would give up, or they would say, "That's not for me to do," or they hit a little adversity and they go, "Oh, that's my sign. I'm not supposed to do this." That's not y'all. Whether it's how you were wired originally, whether it's who you grew into, or whether it's who you've become since you became a couple and support each other. Like, what is a situation where either of you or both of you have kind of hit a wall, or that spot where you were like, "I don't really know where we go from here," but you figured it out?
Well, for me, it was that choice to leave the military. And I think 2014-15, I was either going to be stationed in Germany with my family, or we were going to leave and I was going to start to become a civilian vet. Mm-hmm. Now, that was a really hard choice because the military is very comfortable. You got a routine paycheck, you got insurance. I knew what that job was about. I did not, however, know how to be a practicing veterinarian every single day. And, we had some pretty tough conversations about it. And he had followed me around for 11 years and he was done, and I understood that. But it was definitely something that I said, could I do this? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it was important for me to be a practicing vet and see if I could do that, and to go into the corporate world and sort of see where that took me.
Now, when you did that, did you go to work for a vet?
I went straight into being a chief of staff at the Banfield location in Hermitage.
Okay.
So I managed staff there right away. And, a lot of people have a lot of things to say about Banfield, but I'll only say good things because they taught me a lot. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I'd be the vet I am today without having worked for them.
Okay.
So.
And then how did you go from that into owning?
I always knew that I wanted to own my own practice at some point. And I went to this conference and I learned a lot about bank loans and what you needed to do to start. Some of it said that there was no way that we could do it. You had to have like $100,000 down, and at the time we weren't very financially stable. But then I met a banker that was like, no, you don't need that. Just find a practice that you want to buy and we should be able to back you. And I had always been looking in our area, in and around Pleasant View and Clarksville, mm-hmm. for a practice for sale, and I found one. And I said, Miles, I want to buy this one. And he's like, oh, we can't afford that. We're not going to be able to do that. But at the time, we did it with, $1,000 down?
$1,000 down.
And I had hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt still.
Yes. Yeah. We took on more debt.
But I think because of my proven track record as a leader, the bank trusted me to start a business. And I think I wouldn't have gotten that without the military.
Absolutely. And then, so how long were you there, or how long did you own that practice? What did that look like?
I owned Overwatch Animal Hospital for, 4 or 5 years?
2017 to 2022. 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how much of that time did y'all work together in that business, or from the beginning?
Miles is really good at the managing the accounting and the taxes and all.
I've done
all
that from the beginning.
He's really great at that, giving me my P&Ls and stuff. So he's done that from the beginning. But
I remember we signed the papers, I think, on a Thursday. Mm-hmm. On Friday, she took the day off. Because we already hired a vet. We already had a vet on staff.
Okay.
And that was their scheduled day.
Right.
And I go, we just bought this almost $1 million practice. Are you going to work? No, it's not my day to work. And I'm like, well, I got to do the books. It's like, and yeah, it was experience. But over time, we got better at it. We definitely got better.
I love that clinic, and I always love that clinic because it gave me my start. But it's also the clinic that we made a lot of mistakes, and we learned from those mistakes. I feel like we made a lot of mistakes on that one, and now we built another one so that we're not making too many mistakes there.
That's great. Well, and you've got a beautiful facility in the new one. I mean,
yes.
It's fantastic.
Miles designed that?
I did not know that.
I just did the outline, yeah. Or the blueprint, the floor plan.
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean,
there again, working together to make it a success.
Yeah.
That's great. Miles, what about you? I mean, I know there was a crossroads where you were really kind of where you went into entrepreneurship. Let's kind of look at that one, or was there another one that stands out?
No, I mean, first of all, I worked in chemistry for 20 some years or whatever. And when one door closed, I was obviously looking for a new door to open. We had those options: go back to chemistry, work for the vet clinic, or do the CrossFit thing. So we decided on the CrossFit thing. And I had to learn to become a good coach. That took time. I then started to find a location for the new gym. I had to find a contractor. I had to build all these things. Everything was going great. We had all the bank loans. Financing was taken care of. Everything was rolling forward. And then COVID hit. I remember the day the stock market crashed. I called my banker. I go, am I okay? Is my bank loan still okay? They said, we couldn't even take that away if we wanted to. That's done. About a week later, he took it away. And he flat out said, he goes, there may not even be gyms in 5 years. Like, we don't even know what to do. And so everything fell apart. And for I think maybe 4 or 5 months, I just sat there in depression. I was still coaching. I was still doing that. But I mean, heck, nobody was doing anything. It was March of, 21? Everybody was kind of just hiding in their houses, but I didn't know what to do. And slowly but surely, the property we're in currently became available to me. But we still had to finance it. We still had to do all this. We had to restructure it. We had to remodel it and everything. And I remember one day I was driving on Hicksedgen Road, and I got a call from my banker. And he's like, everything went through. And it was like the sun. The clouds parted, the sun shined through. I remember a beautiful song was playing on the radio, and everything just seemed like it fell in place. But before that, everything was questionable. And so,
well, I think you tried to see that too as a sign. Like you said, I think it's easy to see things that like roadblocks, like, oh my God, this is a sign I shouldn't be doing this. But you have to believe in what you're doing, and he did.
Yeah.
And he pushed through.
I'm so glad it worked out, because like I was telling Jill earlier, I could have used it as a crutch. I could have said, hey, I was going to do this, but COVID happened. You know how it is. And just live the rest of my life of, well, it ain't my fault.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important for entrepreneurs is you're going to have stumbles. You're going to have roadblocks.
Yeah, you have to push through them.
You got to either go over them, through them, around them, under them, figure it out, because no one's going to figure it out for you. And if you're waiting for that, you're not going to be an entrepreneur.
That's right. 100%. I mean, one of the things that I think is the difference between people who are supposed to run their own business and people who are meant to be employees is their ability or their tolerance for
Headaches.
setbacks, issues, all the things. You're going to have them on whichever side of the fence you're going to be on. It's just how serious they are is bigger on the entrepreneur side. But the payoff is much bigger too.
It's funny you say that, Jim. I had a vet, the first vet that started working for me at WildThings wanted to own his own practice, and I knew that hiring him. And he wanted to learn from me. And 6 months after he started working for me, he's like, nope, I'm watching everything you go through. I'm not doing this. So I do think that it takes a certain type of person.
Yeah. The level of stress that an entrepreneur has to be able to endure is different than what most people can handle. And especially if you're going to do it well and maintain a great life.
I agree.
So kudos to you both, because again, I'm familiar with both facilities. Customers, clients of both of them, and
appreciate that.
and we love you guys. Both facilities. I mean, you can tell that the amount of care and thought that you put into your businesses is real, and it's client focused. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Now, we've talked about that work-life balance a little bit, touched on it, and how you guys support each other. But what are some specific things that you do in order to make sure that you're spending enough time with family, that you're also focused on your business? Is there kind of a methodology that goes to it, or is it just feel, or how does that look?
Well, I remember, when I was at Overwatch and we lost our vet, I was working 6 days a week, missing volleyball games and, kids stuff. And I said to myself, I don't want to be the business owner that just has to work all the time. I want to have time for my kids. Our parents, they worked a lot, so they were gone. And I didn't want that for my kids. We made it a priority I made it a priority to work less. So I found a way to find more veterinarians to get those days off. To even now with WildThings, I don't work 5 days a week. I work 2 or 3, and that's how I'm able to be there, be present for my kids when they have events, and that's how we're able to be present for each other.
Yep.
Well, and how does that work in the CrossFit space?
In the CrossFit space, one, we're lucky because we live in that bedroom community. The classes are always really early and they're always really, really late. All right. And so I may coach 5 days a week, but it's always at 5 a.m. So that doesn't really take away from the family. Yeah. 2, I have great staff. I have a wonderful head coach that without her, CrossFit WildThing would not exist. Let me repeat that. Without my head coach, CrossFit WildThing would not exist. And so I have to thank her. She's passionate about it just as I am. I am not as good at separating the business as Jill is. I'm always kind of like on the laptop and everything, but it's always easily put away, and then we can focus on whatever we need to focus on.
That's awesome. Well, I think both of you are a little bit ahead of the curve. From a coaching standpoint, a lot of times I'll come in, doctors specifically, and a lot of them they've started a practice because they didn't want to work for somebody else, and then now they kind of just own their job. They haven't crossed that threshold of hiring other practitioners in.
They bought a job, not a business.
They bought a job, not a business, or they grew into a job instead of, really understanding that they need to be running the business. And a lot of doctors, and I think veterinarians fall into this sometimes too, is they think their client list is going to be worth a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
And really, if they don't get a coach, if they don't change that methodology I really need at least 2 years with somebody, sometimes 5, depending upon where they're at in their space, to get them to rework their practice, hire in some doctors, start removing themselves from the day-to-day patient activity, and start running the business. And you've already done that, well ahead of the curve. You did that in the previous one as well, the one that you sold, right?
Yeah, I did it on accident because I knew I didn't want to work, 5-6 days a week. But when we were having Overwatch evaluated, that was a big thing that they said was part of the valuation process is to see how ingrained you are in that practice, and they don't want you that ingrained as the business owner. They want they want to be able to buy a practice that's already functioning. And that's why that practice was so valuable, because I had other vets that were good vets that worked for me.
Absolutely. It changes the evaluation night and day because it's a functioning business. At that point, you're not just trying to sell it to a veterinarian. Now, private equity, other types of investors could buy that practice as a running practice or whatever type of business it is.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Again, well ahead of the curve in that regard. Now, how involved are each of you in each other's business? I mean, I get that you support each other. Miles, obviously you do the bookkeeping for both and from the strategy standpoint, but on a day-to-day basis, Jill, I see you at CrossFit sometimes. Miles, I know you're at the veterinary clinic sometimes. How does that work for you guys?
Well, I mean, obviously I handle the books for both businesses. That's just something I actually enjoy it. I tell people I'm like Scrooge McDuck. I like adding the ins and the outs and doing all that kind of stuff. One thing we have both are very conscious of is we use each other as a sounding board. Like if I'm going to make a big decision for the gym, I'll run it by her. I appreciate her opinion and everything. But at the end of the day, she knows it's my decision. Same thing with the vet clinic. If she's, dealing with this problem or something, she'll ask my opinion, but she also knows, and I know that she may disagree with me and go the other direction. And I don't walk away from it feeling bitter or anything like that, especially when it comes to each company's employees. Those are her employees. These are my employees. All right. It's to the point even where I'll be at the veterinary clinic and I'll see something that's maybe dirty or something. I'll be like, could you ask your employee to clean that up? I don't think that looks good. And she may not even do it, but I would never go straight to that employee and say, hey, clean this up, because that's her business and this is my business.
I love that.
Yeah, I think just respecting each other's roles as bosses, like you're the boss of this business. This is what I think you should do. But if they don't take that advice, we never really get mad at each other. We understand we are both very different leaders and very different bosses and managers. And it's worked for both of us in our professions, the way that we manage.
We've learned a lot. Like we've made mistakes, tons of mistakes. So you just have to roll with it. We use the experience and knowledge we have available to us, which is both of us, to make the best decision we can. And if we make that mistake, well, at least we got that knowledge out of that. Every mistake is actually something you paid for, one way or the other, right?
I love it. And again, I think that shows a level of maturity that a lot of people struggle to get to, especially at our age. It's one of those things that people usually learn later in life.
Sure.
So now this next part is one of the ones that we have a little bit of fun with, and it's a little bit controversial. It can be sometimes. Now, nothing too crazy. We're not trying to get anybody canceled, but it's called Things We Think But Do Not Say. And so do y'all have something you think falls into that category where you're like, you know what, I absolutely believe this is true, and I don't mind saying it?
For us, and this misconception seems to follow us for some reason, everybody thinks just because I own a small business, I'm rich. All the money that goes into the business just ends up in my pocket. And that is not the case by any means. The cost of running these businesses are very different, but they are both costly. As for the gym, a lot of people see that I have X amount of members, X of members pay X amount of money. So they think all that money just goes straight in my pocket. And they don't ever think about payroll. They don't ever think about rent. They never think about repairs. They never think about taxes.
IT.
Taxes.
IT.
And so they sit there and they might judge us and say, well, that's where my membership goes. And it's like, I don't know why you come up with that, but we're okay with that. But that's that thing that's always floats around our heads that we never say. When it comes to the veterinary world, go ahead.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a perception that veterinarians just order these tests because they want more money in their pocket. There's been several clients, and I have grown to the point where I will call out a client when they try to say this to me, but you just want money out of me for doing diagnostics like x-rays and blood work. You just want more money. My dog doesn't need that. And it's really frustrating to me because I practice really high quality medicine and I give them the option of doing those things so they can say yes or no. And I think the perception that veterinarians are just out for money is so untrue more than 95% of the time. I think there might be the few, but most of them are there to help the pet. And I think that people just don't understand the profession unless you're in it.
And I think in both cases, I do think that people have this misconception of what I pay is what that person puts in their pocket. And there's so much that goes into running a business, whether we're talking about insurance, rent, employees, taxes, like you said before, taxes and taxes and taxes.
A lot of taxes.
I think that's true, Jim. And I think that if they don't run a business, they don't understand that and they never will. But if anybody can take anything away from your podcast, labor and cost of goods, that's the biggest expense in most businesses. And that's a lot of the expense, so especially in small businesses where we're not a corporation and we can't get tax benefits.
Yeah. Well, I think there's two things at play. I mean, because you'll see on Facebook all the time people are like, support small business, and then at the same time, just right on the other side of that, you'll have people complaining about what somebody charges. Exactly,
and I love how people say support small businesses, but you support them with your wallet, And I've kind of recently just gotten two vendors who charge the same price across all boards. So meaning if you want this supplement, you can get it in my gym for this price, or you can go to Amazon and you get it at the same price. But constantly I see people who are like, well, I want to support small businesses, but they're more. For example, our pharmaceuticals, people complain to me about a $100 medication at the vet. We're paying $80 or $90 for that.
Yeah.
But they'll say, but I can get it at Chewy's for $95. Chewy's can afford to take that $1 margin because they're going to sell 1 million of them. I cannot afford to keep that on the shelf at the vet clinic to do inventory on it, to do the records for the state for $1. I mean, it's just not worth it for us to carry that med.
Yeah.
And they're like, but Chewy's has got it more. But you want to support small businesses. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, I look at it like this. I'm paying for the convenience. If they are more expensive. Now, big shout out to, I know Podium is one of the ones that sells the same price in your gym as they allow people to sell online. And I think that's fantastic. But, some people will hate on our grocery store that's there locally, HG Hills. I think they do a fantastic job for a local grocery. The people care. I'm willing to pay a little more for the fact that I drive 1.5 minutes from my door to their door.
Yep.
That's worth something to me. Whereas somebody else wants to haggle over, it's 10% more. It may not even be that much more. But, I mean, you have to turn a profit or you can't be in business.
Especially for small businesses. And people don't realize this. Local politicians or even state politicians or even federal politicians will say, we support small businesses. I don't see how. Because the amount of regulations you make us enforce and the amount of taxes you charge, I don't see how anyone in government supports small business. And we almost laugh at it because they act like they're doing us a favor when they're taking away this very high percentage tax. It's like we shouldn't have had that to begin with. Do you want us to operate? That's just my 2 cents.
Well, no, and you bring that up, and that's actually one of the first business conversations that we had between you and I.
His taxes.
Is taxes. I remember we were at school, standing in line to go have lunch with Branch and Castle,
Yeah.
and you just didn't look like yourself. You had this. I don't want to say pale, but you were. It was almost like you were flushed with frustration, and at the same time, just pale, sick looking at both. I don't even know how that works. And I said, "Are you all right?" And you were like, "Man, we sold the veterinary clinic, and we saved all the money. We didn't spend it, but then taxes came up, and what we thought we were going to pay in taxes versus what they said we owed is just night and day different." And big shout out to Valerie Kemp, CPA. I said, well, you need a second opinion. Call Valerie.
Yes.
I'll let her know you're calling. She'll either say yes or no or come see me. And, I think that relationship has turned out pretty well.
That relationship has turned out great. And yeah, I wasn't an idiot when approaching the sale of the clinic either. We sought out a lot of professional.
We wanted to know what our taxes were. We sought out 3 different accountants to give us some idea of what those capital gains would be, because we wanted to know that before we sold, so we knew how much would be taken out.
Right.
We knew it wasn't going to be exact.
Sure.
But
it
should have been a lot closer.
You don't miss by a zero.
Yeah.
3 accountants.
Well, and that's what you said, because as we were standing there in line, because I think y'all were on vacation when you got the phone call. Mm-hmm. And you were like, it was off by a whole digit. And that's when call this number.
That's a bad vacation when you find out something like that. But
oh my goodness.
We've rebounded from that, and we paid our appropriate taxes, which we should. I don't have a problem being taxed. I just don't want to be misrepresented by bad accountants.
Sure, absolutely.
That's basically it.
Well, and that's one of the things in business, and is why I send a lot of my clients to Valerie, is you need somebody that is well-versed and kind of along your growth path. Because, there are accountants, and I would say a lot of accountants specialize in a certain kind of range. If you're a startup through this much revenue, that's this person. And then, if you're in the millions to this many millions, then that's this person. Mm-hmm. Most of them are not skilled, unless it's a large firm, from zero to hundreds of millions. And so you can absolutely outgrow, or your problems can outgrow, or even you sold, so it's not like that wasn't a problem, but your situation outgrew that accountant. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think in business, that is one of the things you have to always have in the back of your head is, am I with the right person from an accounting standpoint? Because taxes play such a big role in whether we make money or we lose money.
I agree.
Yeah, I think you need a team of people, really.
Mm-hmm.
You need a good real estate attorney, you need a good accountant, and you need a good banker. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Between those 3, that has really led to our success. We've had some really good support.
Yeah, and a great investment person too. Mm-hmm. I think, and the more, this is kind of controversial because some people think the opposite. I like for mine to be in communication with each other. Don't let me be the middleman. I give y'all the ability to talk to each other, because what happens, and Valerie does the same thing with bankers and with those types of people, is they may have a conversation. There may be something that comes out organically in their conversation that would not come out through me. And it's just because I'm relaying messages. And so then they may come up with a totally different strategy that is way more beneficial, or they may uncover a potential problem that would not have come to light if I was playing middleman.
Well, as a small business owner, you have to be a jack of all trades, but not necessarily a master of them. So we wear so many hats. Mm-hmm. We wear so many hats. And for example, we have to know our taxes because it affects the bottom line. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean I'm an expert at them. And like you said, if my real estate attorney who knows their mastery and my tax accountant knows their mastery, you're going through me, the middleman, I might be losing something.
That's right.
So
yeah, no, it's a big factor, especially when we hit adversity, and when everything is going fine, everybody's making good money. Well, that's not when businesses go out of business.
Oh yeah,
mm-hmm. It's the ones that are paying attention as they go. Even when times are good, they're looking at things very strategically. And one of the things is I recommend each one of those you're having a conversation with quarterly, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page and all that. But especially your year end with your CPA, in my opinion, for a small business owner is critical, because you're taking a look at, is there anything we need to button up before the end of the year? Because, I mean, once the clock strikes 12,
You can do half of it.
Yeah, most of it's done. But at the same time, some of those strategies for the next year, you need to be planning for before the year starts. And a lot of businesses, they're afraid that, oh, well, I mean, they're going to charge me for that hour that I'm coming in.
Yeah.
Well, what's that couple $100 compared to what may be saved on the back end, or to plan for the next year and be more successful? So surrounding yourself with great professionals, to me, is just a night and day difference between those who get by and those who get it done.
And I think you said it's a level of maturity. Like you, and what's so unfortunate is there's so many people out there that's willing to take advantage of you. So you get burned once, you are so hesitant to trust another professional. But you've got to take the time. You got to build those relationships. You got to build that goodwill. Find those experts, and once you got them, you're ready. You're ready for the moon. Just go.
Yeah, just leverage them. I mean, you know, they're there for a reason. They get excited about their business, just like you guys get excited about your businesses. Let them do their thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Now, essentially, you're both working to either get people healthier or pets healthier, and really that affects almost every part of their lives. What does success look like for each of you in your businesses?
Well, you know, obviously I want my patients healthy and my clients happy, but also my staff. You know, I think we went through about 100% turnover that first year, and right now we have just really good staff. We have a staff that I feel like care about my business sometimes more than me, but it's amazing because I know I can step away and my clients and my patients will have the best care whether I'm there or not. So I think success for me is just continuing to create that relationship with the community of Pleasant View, make sure they understand that we're there for them. Before we started, there was only one other vet clinic in town. Shout out to Pleasant View Animal Hospital. We went over there and introduced ourselves to them, and they've been nothing but kind. They're not accepting new patients at the moment, so they're referring a lot to us, which for a new business owner has been a blessing. You know, it's really nice that we have them referring to us, and we've already established that good relationship in our community with them.
Well, I think the spirit between the two is you're working together to take better care of your patients collectively. And when one's not available, the other one may be available, and that type of thing. And I think, I could be wrong on this, but I think, too, you also understand what each one does well. And so you kind of pick and choose what gets sent to because they specialize in X or you specialize in this. And I think, you know, that has played, you know, beneficial for your clinic, especially with your exotic background.
Yeah, it does. Because they've referred a lot of exotics our way, but also they've sent pets our way that need like acupuncture, because we practice holistic medicine too. I do a lot of acupuncture, laser, and ozone on pets. So if they have a surgical case, they may send it my way for recovery. So it's really been a good partnership.
I love it. Now, you just mentioned a trigger word for me, ozone. So how are you using the ozone? Are you using it topically or what?
Oh, there's all kinds of ways to get ozone into the pet's body.
Oh, and a human's body.
Yeah, and a human's body. But we use ozone rectally sometimes in pets with parvo, for example.
Right.
Or UVO3 has been probably my most common use of ozone, which is where we put ozone in the pet's blood. And it has been amazing for my elderly pets. Like we pair that with acupuncture and UVO3, and it gives them like really good quality of life. You know, if you got a 15-year-old pet that's not walking so well, and you can bring them for these, you know, sort of self-care for the pet appointments, they can have good quality of life for however long they have left.
That's fantastic. I did not know that you were doing ozone therapy.
Yes.
There in Pleasant View. So give me a ballpark. So if I bring in a 65-pound dog, how many milliliters are we combining?
So we draw 60 pounds, might be like 20 mils of blood.
Okay.
And then we mix it with saline, ozone, heparin. And I shine it through this machine that shines UV, A, B, and C light into it and then put it back in the pet. I think UV, A, B, and C, UV light in general, and what it does for pets and humans, I don't think we've even scratched the surface of its benefits. So just seeing how it's made a difference in my pets has been amazing. And the treatments I think they're pretty costly, or they're pretty reasonably priced.
Sure. Well, and that's not an inexpensive procedure. I mean, I've had that done myself. I've done.
You've had the UV03?
I have.
How much did you pay for it?
So that one was about $1,000.
See, I've been quoted $3,000. I was like, dang, I'd really like to try it, but.
So, Osteopathic Center in Knoxville.
Okay.
And so, big shout out to Dr. Sean Goddard. And actually, so the Osteopathic Center, they have a partnership with Rich Froning.
Oh, yeah.
And so, occasionally, I think, a couple times a month that, Rich's guys kind of load up and head up to Osteopathic Center.
Cool.
But we do have Michelle, I forget her last name, in Jolton that does ozone therapy. Now, she doesn't offer the UV, A, B, and C, but just, a 10 pass there in Jolton, which is.
Did you do a one-time treatment?
So I've done 3 10 passes, usually about 8 months apart.
How did you like it?
So the most impactful was the first one. And, obviously it kills off a lot of the bad things in your body. I will say you get like a flu-like symptom about 3 hours after, at least I do. And that's that Hershinger effect where it's killing off all the bad things and your body's trying to get rid of the waste and the toxins.
Yeah.
And so I usually just plan on having a 2 or 3 hour nap after I get home and sleep through that phase. But you feel like Superman. I mean, It is crazy, especially the first one. I can't even describe it to you. I had been running, or not even, most of the time I wasn't running. This was years ago. This was 2021. We had lived in the same neighborhood for 12 years. And there was, it's a figure 8 neighborhood. And I had run the front loop for years, just one burst at a time.
Sure.
And my fastest time I beat by 9 seconds, and we're only talking about something which took me 40 seconds to begin with, but my fastest time I cut by 25% that evening.
Yeah.
Because I just felt like running.
You were ready to go.
It was weird. I had never experienced that before. And yeah, so the best way I can describe it is you feel like Superman. So I can imagine those pets. Obviously there's no way for you to explain to the pet how they're going to feel or what this is going to do for them, but
yeah, a lot of the clients they call me and they're like, I don't know what you did to him, but he's like a puppy again.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's legit.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. Miles, what about you? What success looks like, and you're there helping people get healthier. What does success look like for you in that?
Okay, yeah. At the gym, first you got to realize, for a lot of wins, it's just getting somebody in the door.
That's right.
That I tell people all the time, we have the heaviest door in Pleasant View. So many people want to make that change in their life, but whether it's CrossFit is intimidating or they're just not ready for the workouts, whatever it is, just getting them there is a challenge. Next step is to getting them to come continuously. Mm-hmm. And we try our best. We kind of pick at people. We're not like Planet Fitness. We don't want you just to sign up and never come. We will literally bug you to show up in that gym. And once you're consistent, then we need to get those wins. Mm-hmm. And a win is different for everybody. Everyone thinks they just want to lose weight. But once I can get you off medication, mm-hmm. once I can get you your first double under or your first pull-up, we call them those aha moments. Once you get those aha moments, that only isn't just a win for you, that's a win for us.
Yeah.
And Sylvia and I will sit around and we'll just talk about them. And that is our success stories. Mm-hmm. Like, that is our goal. And if you've been a member of CrossFit WildThing for a while, sometimes you can become complacent. And we've got to push you a little bit. And we've got to find that balance of whether or not we want to make this the best hour of your day. We want to make this enjoyable. We want this to de-stress you, but we also have to challenge you. Mm-hmm. And that is a constant battle. And it's what we do on the daily.
Can I chime in here?
Yeah.
When he first started the gym, I, saw these clients, met him, worked out with them. And, I didn't work out with them every day, didn't see him every day. But, I'd see him like 5 or 6 months down the road. And I'd be like, dang, that guy is squatting. He is legit squatting. And he couldn't squat before. Mm-hmm. Or I'd see these girls start to do pull-ups. And it made me feel really guilty. I'm like, I should go to the gym more. I should really listen to my husband. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing to see the work that him and Sylvia put in pay off.
Well, and it's interesting the culture that you've built there. And I don't know if this was on purpose. I don't know if it is just a theme across CrossFit gyms in general. I don't know, because I really only go to ours, right? And I tell people that everybody's friendly. So your first day, don't get stressed out of it. Everybody's friendly. But there's something that clicks. Once you have come in and you have sweat enough, then you're part of the community. It's like one day it just changes. And I don't know how much sweat it is. I don't know what that factor is, but it changes and you never want to leave.
Well, I've looked at this a lot. Like, coming to a CrossFit gym is intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been trying to get you into the door for a lot longer than when you actually showed up.
A full year before I signed up. Yeah.
And even the simple task of, I don't know how to operate this rower,
Mm-hmm.
is intimidating. And so we try our best to make it very welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the coaches and the environment, but it's also the members.
Mm-hmm.
The members can make that such an easier path. And I think we have great members.
Mm-hmm.
I think our members go above and beyond with welcoming new clients. But like you said, I did Murph with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I did this workout with this guy. I rode that 1,000 meters with this guy. We've been through something together. We're now, brothers in arms.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long that takes. For some people, it takes longer than others.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want that relationship, it's there.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be stuck on a Peloton in a closet, just pedaling away.
Right.
There is much easier ways to get your fitness goals.
Well, and I feel like we are social people, social beings by nature,
Mm-hmm.
and the things that happened in 2020, the way people are going to work from home, all these things, is like we're systematically taking what makes us human away.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think CrossFit gyms and places where people network, whether it's social or work or those types of things, become more and more valuable because people need that human connection.
I totally agree. There's a study just released that says we're spending an hour more a day in the house than we were 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they said COVID led to this.
Yeah.
But could you imagine an hour more being sedentary? I mean, this is the new smoking.
Yeah.
The couch is the new smoking. Sitting is the new smoking. So I realize that people have all different varying levels of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in your garage and you're getting it done, kudos to you. But the majority of the clients we have says, yes, I could do this at home, but I'd rather do it here.
Yeah.
And I'd rather do it with this person and that person because we've done it together. We've sweat together. And this is my tribe.
And you push each other.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other misconception out there, and I think your facility does a great job of just shining a light on this, is everybody thinks CrossFit is great, but it's just not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you come to the 9 a.m. class, there's a chance that AJ or one of the younger people are going to be there, and they're going to be sub 20 years old or
Mm-hmm.
ish, and then Miss Pam's in there.
Yeah.
And so you've got a 50-plus year spread.
Exactly.
And everybody's in there doing the same workout. Now, obviously, more or less weight,
Mm-hmm.
It could be a day that Brady shows up. And, that dude's putting up 400 pounds with multiple reps. Great. I'm
Yep.
not that guy.
and you don't feel ashamed that you're not that guy.
No.
And like you said, there could be 20 people in that class with 20 different backgrounds, 20 different ages, 20 different strength abilities. They're doing the same workout, but in a way it's still 20 different workouts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably one of the biggest fears I've heard from the community is, I couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would have to stop everything and just treat me. We do that already.
Right.
We treat 20 different people. 20 different people have different modifications set specifically for them. Bad backs, we got you covered. Bad knees, we got you covered. Bad shoulders, we got you covered. If you're coming to me in your 30s and 40s, you're probably already broken.
Mm-hmm.
And that's normal. Let's get some range of motion back. Let's get you using those joints again, because I hope you have 30, 40, 50 more years ahead of you. If you're already thrown in the towel at 30, that's going to make for a very hard rest of your life.
That's right.
Jim, I just want to remember that 9 a.m. that we did. We were doing, what is it, double DT?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I saw Pam over there in that corner, and she was doing those presses, and I'm like, dang, she's doing them, I can do them too. She was so inspiring.
That's right. You can't let up when you look over and Miss Pam at 70 plus years old is sweating it out, and she's not giving up.
She's not. And yeah, she's an inspiration.
Well, and to those out there that have medical conditions, CrossFit is still for you. I mean that completely, because we've got several members that have conditions that most people would go, you know what?
You shouldn't be doing CrossFit.
You shouldn't be doing CrossFit.
Yeah, with pregnant women, you can do CrossFit. Now, if you have
it's crazy how many pregnant women we have in the 9 o'clock class,
Oh,
and then we have all the babies afterward. It's
I'm not saying this is medical fact, but if you are looking to have another child, come to CrossFit. I don't know what it is. Maybe the backside gets a little firmer, and it leads to
Miles.
something. But hey, we have a lot of pregnant women that become pregnant at CrossFit WildThing. And
Not there necessarily.
right. It's a family environment, not a family creation environment. But then there are some couples that have become couples because of CrossFit, right?
We are looking for that first CrossFit WildThing marriage, and that is a couple that met at our facility and then finally tied the knot. I got a couple names that come to mind, but we have great relationships too. Like usually, a husband or wife will fall in love with CrossFit WildThing. Not too much more time after that, the husband or wife will come following, because one, it changes their lives. Hence why I started CrossFit WildThing, and it just injects life into you. And after time, you're like, well, why are you reaping all the benefits from this? Why ain't I there?
Yeah.
So it is a great environment.
Now, because you have two businesses in the community that you live in, that the kids go to school in, all the things, how has that changed your engagement with the community, the fact that you are small business owners?
Well, it's funny, when we owned our first vet clinic, we did not live in that community. And unfortunately, when people come to a vet, the majority of the time that pet is sick. And so pets are lost. And she always said, she goes, well, what are we going to do if we ever open a one in our community? And then in between that time, I opened the gym. And she's like, how do you know all these people in town? Like, we'd be sitting at lunch or dinner, and people would walk up to me, and she's like, how are you knowing all these people? And I think that kind of started the bug. And she's like, you know what? I would love to be part of this community too. And like you said before, I work on human health. She works on animal health. We feel like we're participating in the community.
Yeah.
And because of that, it is our community. Like, I am very concerned on what happens in my community, even if it comes down to, better roads, because this is all we got. Like, this is where we dropped our anchor.
That's right.
And we love it.
Yeah, unfortunately, whether Pleasant View likes it or not, I've adopted them. And I hope they've adopted me. We're not born and raised there like a lot of people, but we've lived there 12, 13 years.
13 years.
And I love that community. I love the people in it. And I would say, having a vet clinic there, I've had so much more positivity than I thought I would.
Yeah.
So much more positive feedback. 95% of my clients are great. There's always the occasional that, are not so great, but that's every community. But I never thought that I'd have this many wonderful, wonderful clients.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We love it too. And, you pass by our house. I mean, when I see you pass by on the Vespa.
I like to go fast.
Right? But you're just part of the community, and not just the veterinary or the animal hospital, but the CrossFit gym too. I think of people who've been on the podcast. I think of people I do business with. A lot of them are from CrossFit that I didn't know before. Bubba Williams, my Farm Bureau guy, met him actually I talked him into coming to the gym.
It's great.
but was introduced to him through a friend at the gym. And then Jaime and his team cleaned our house when we got finished with construction. And then Carissa and Amber, of course, Carissa's, they're just absolutely pouring sweat, working hard, and she was pregnant.
Yep.
She's amazing.
And then was on the podcast just the day after they cleared her. And the reason I knew she was cleared is because I said something to Sylvia about whether or not she thought she'd be interested in coming on the podcast. And she goes, "Oh, yeah, so she's getting cleared by the doctor tomorrow, and she's going to be in the gym the next day."
At the end of the day, it's all about relationships.
It is.
And it's so funny. I grew up in a small town, very small town. And I said, I will never live in another small town. And here I am raising my children. And I hope I make better decisions than I did when I was a kid in a small town.
I didn't grow up in a small town. I grew up in a big town, so I like the small town feel. But I'm also, like, Pleasant View in particular always impresses me, the level of people there. I think it's easy for people who are not from Tennessee or from this community to be like, oh, they're Southerners, they don't know much, the normal cliches. But, like, the smart, business-minded people there, there's beautiful female entrepreneurs there. There's just so much knowledge. I mean, even just in his gym alone, I'm constantly impressed by the level of people that I meet.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic. We love it. We love it there. Now, you guys have built this amazing life, businesses, marriage, children, all these things together. What's a piece of advice that each of you would give to somebody out there that's maybe younger than us or kind of starting their path, or maybe they're just kind of derailed at a different point in life? What's a bit of advice you'd give them?
Well, the quote that I've always lived by is, you have to leap and grow your wings on the way down. You have to take risk. You do not, because my brother, he wanted to own a business, but he wanted that guarantee that it was going to succeed. And I was like, that's what the grow your wings on the way down, that's where that comes in. He didn't get it, but I had to explain it to him. But yeah, I mean, I think you're never going to have 100%, like it's never going to be 100% safe. You have to make it safe. And if you fail that first time, you're going to learn something from it. So you got to take those kernels and keep going. But yeah, I would say. That's perfect.
Yep. Miles? Just like when I was trying to open the gym, and it was just like obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And as we said earlier in the podcast, you either go over them, under them, through them, around them. That is normal. And people hit that very first one, and they run for safety. And there's a lot of benefits to being an entrepreneur, like not just money-wise, but a lot of benefits. Like I would have never met the people I know if I've never opened that gym. And the rewards are there.
Yeah.
Take the risk. The rewards are there.
I love it. All right. So in our last segment, we have some fun. And so you guys know I'm a bowler, hence the bowling pin, all those things. So imagine that we are building a team for a celebrity bowling event that all the funds are going to go to charity. And so the goal is we want to put together a team that's going to drive attraction. People are going to want to watch this. So who's on the team and who's the commentator?
And it could be anybody.
It could be anybody.
All right.
Past, present, celebrity. Could be, anybody
All right.
that you know or don't know.
It's got to be Fred, right?
Well, I mean, Fred Flintstone's the best bowler ever alive, right?
There we go.
I mean,
All right.
that's my 300 bowler right there.
Yeah.
John Goodman. I think he's been in. I know he's been in one bowling movie.
Well, and didn't John Goodman play Fred Flintstone in?
Oh, there you go.
Exactly. There's
So-
a connection.
And I think he bowled a lot in Roseanne. Like I think he carried a
He
bag
did regularly.
Yeah.
But it's got to be co-ed.
Betty White.
Betty White. There you
You
go.
know, she's tiny, but she's fearless.
Yeah.
I think she can throw a ball.
And strategy. We need strategy.
Strategy.
Strategy, like wartime strategy, like Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oh.
There we go. That's our 4.
All right. And who is going to commentate? Who's going to be our commentator?
Well, the same guy I'd want to narrate my life, which would be Morgan Freeman. I mean, you just got to have that.
Oh, yeah, he's going to speak at my funeral. He's already agreed to it.
All right.
He's doing my audiobook.
That's awesome. What is the best book that you ever read, business or other?
Oh, that's a tough one.
For me, best business book is Shoe Dog. That's the story of Nike. The guy who wrote that, I told Jill the whole time I was reading it, I was like, this guy's like poetry in your ear. It's just awesome. And the book is about every damn obstacle you can have. I mean, it is amazing what he came over to start Nike. And as far as just like fiction, I'm Catcher in the Rye. That's just for me.
I like The Perks of Being a Wallflower, if we're talking about fiction. And business, for me, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah. I mean, classic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's one of those that you read it again at a different stage in life, and something else jumps out at
It
you.
really does. It, like, when we first read it, it was before any of our businesses, and I'm like, well, I wish. And now we're reading it again, and it's definitely, you have a totally different perspective.
We tried to play the audiobook to our kids on a long car ride. We would like take a bathroom break and we'd get back in the car. The kids would be like, no more Rich Dad, Poor Dad, please.
Yep.
You know, in saying that, though, it's kind of cool. Our kids are starting to ask business-minded questions. You know, in school, they don't teach them about accounting or business or anything. And so, you know, Layla's constantly, well, what did that cost? And how much did you actually make on that? And, you know, do you think you'd invest in that? I mean, like, just these questions that I would have never thought to ask when I was young.
And Branch is always like, are you doing taxes? I'm like, I'm always doing taxes.
That's right.
It's always tax season.
It's always in my head.
tax season.
Yeah.
But they pick up more than you think.
Yeah.
They pick up more than you think by far.
Well, one of my favorite ones, and I play this game with Castle, is he knows how to use the Dave Ramsey investment calculator.
Ooh.
Okay.
And so, you know, he mows a couple yards now. So he mows 2 yards every other week. And he has to decide how much money he's going to spend, how much he's going to save, and how much he's going to invest.
Okay.
And I think I created a monster because the first time he got a check, I said, you know, I think he got $120. And I said, you know, you're cashing that. So how much are you going to invest? How much are you going to save? How much are you going to keep to spend? And he goes, I'll keep 20 and I'm going to put 100 in with the investment guy. Like, buddy, that sounds
That's
great.
aggressive.
That's great. Why don't we keep 40? You can keep 40. You can put 20 in savings, 20 to spend, and 100 or 80 to the investment.
And then when
guy.
rent comes due, you got to somehow come up with that money. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
I like the aggressiveness though.
But it's fun, and for us, we talked about money. I used to take him to the bank. This was pre-COVID. I used to take him to the bank with me every week, and this could be absolutely disastrous one of these days, or it may have been the greatest thing I ever did. But if we were putting money in the bank or moving money from checking to savings, he got a sucker. And if we were not putting money in or saving it, he did not get a sucker.
So based off of your decisions, he got his treat.
That's right.
Like, Dad, what the
He's
heck?
like, why did you do this, Dad? Like, I'm not getting a sucker now.
Oh, yeah. So it's that accountability factor, right?
I like it.
All right. The next one is 2 truths and a lie.
Uh-oh.
So
We got to come up with them?
Okay.
You share the 3, and then I have to try to figure out which one is the lie.
I jumped out of airplanes. I have 3 nipples. I lived overseas twice.
One is the lie. I'm gonna go with 3 nipples is the lie. Okay.
That one is.
It was obvious.
I mean, it could be true.
You never know.
Never know.
For me, I want to get all 3 before I say anything.
Okay.
Okay. I'm afraid of heights. I'm a drummer. And shoot, I had that third one. Oh, and this hair is not naturally curly. I have it curled.
I'm gonna go with afraid of heights.
I am definitely afraid of heights.
Okay.
Like when I get on the ladder at the gym, I have Sylvia hold it, or else I feel like I'm gonna fall over.
Okay.
So that is the truth.
All right. So the hair's the lie.
The hair's a lie. It is natural. But
Okay.
the amount of people that come up to me and go, "Do you get that curled?" I'm just like, I mean, I'm not 17, so I'm not
doesn't
going.
get
I'm not
perms.
going for the fro. I find it funny that I had to wait till my 40s till my hair was in fashion.
Oh, there
Yeah, that's just my luck.
But some people, it never happens.
Yes,
Some people's hair are just never going to come into fashion.
That's so true. Yeah,
Well, at least you have hair, not like
I know. Hey, if you have hair in your 40s, that's a win.
That's right.
there.
All right. So the last one, and I think is one of the most important ones, is how do you want to be remembered?
It's you.
It's me. It's funny you ask that because I always used to think about this when I was just a plant manager, and that is, if I died today, who would come to my funeral? Mm-hmm. And I assume my family, a handful of friends, and maybe 4 or 5 people from work. Mm-hmm. And now I hope that if I pass, members of this community would come, and I'd hope they remember what I've done for the community, and I hope to be remembered fondly. Mm-hmm. Let's just say that, and that's all a person can ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely didn't start the gym to make a huge amount of money. We started it to bring back to the community, but I am just gonna piggyback off that, and I would definitely like the community to remember me as a veterinarian who practiced with integrity and helped their pets, and yeah.
It's funny, my son, and maybe even Layla at one point said, "Don't you want to be famous?" Oh. And I think at this point, I'm like, no, I do not want to be famous. Like that, I think is sometimes a curse. But I do want to be thought of fondly, especially around the people that matter most. And if you can't do that in your community, where who cares what the rest of the country thinks?
That's right. I love it. As we wrap up, is there anything, an ask or a nugget of knowledge that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Well, if you're in the region of Pleasant View, Tennessee, and you'd like to check out a CrossFit gym or a veterinary clinic, please look us up. With the CrossFit gym in particular, we have the Halloween party coming up, and that is going to be on the last Saturday of the month, and
26th,
26th, I believe. And you are we strongly suggest you come in costume. Mm-hmm. There will be some gifts for the kiddos if they come in costume, and also we're going to have some costume contests, and it should be a good time. Yeah. So if you are in the area, please come by.
And how do they get in touch with you at the gym?
You can email us at wildthing@cfwildthing.com. That'd probably be the direct source to me. You can also stop by. I mean, we are always there ready to give people a tour of the gym. You're also able to try a free class. So, and as far as the veterinary clinic?
Yeah, the vet clinic, I would say we have all kinds of cool stuff come in on a daily basis. So follow us on Facebook. Right now we have Turbo the Tortoise, who was hit by a car about a month and a half ago with a broken jaw that we had to repair the jaw. He's got a feeding tube. He's not out of the woods, but he's still doing well. He's still feisty. So, I mean, we have all kinds of interesting things come through our door. So following us on Facebook is the best way to see that. Pictures and interesting things and cute animals.
And if they have a pet or they have an exotic that has an ailment and needs to come in, or they've got an older pet that could get some relief through acupuncture or ozone, yeah. How do they contact you?
Well, you can call us 615-288-5630, or you can message us on Facebook, through email, anything.
I love it.
Our website is www.wildthingsah.com.
And the veterinary clinic has an S on the end of it because they cater to all things WildThing. So WildThings, and it is CrossFit WildThing, right?
Yes. Yep. And just so you know, the veterinary clinic does see cats and dogs as well.
That's right.
Like, yeah, a lot of people make that misconception that we only treat the real wild ones.
Nope, we see them all.
That's cool.
Big or small.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for.
Thanks, Jim.
You're both supporting our community in a powerful way through health, whether it be for pets or whether it be for humans, and both of you building a stronger community, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Well, team, you heard it here. And so whether we're talking about the health of your pets, whether you're talking about the health of you as an individual or your family, that's what Miles and Jill are working toward, working to build a stronger community by helping each and every individual in it. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you took some key things away from it that will help you build a stronger future for you and your family. Until next time, I'm Jim Cripps with the Charge Forward Podcast. We'll see you later. Team, is Jim Cripps here with the Charge Forward Podcast. I just want to tell you I love you. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you for subscribing and sharing the Charge Forward Podcast with people you know and you love, because that's what we're here for. We are here to share the amazing stories, the things that people have been through, the ways that they were able to improve their life so that you can take little nuggets from theirs and help improve your story and be better tomorrow than you were today. I hope that this is the tool you needed at the right time, and that you find value in the amazing guests that we bring each and every week. Thanks so much, and don't forget, new episodes drop every Thursday.